Welcome to part 3 of my response to the Flat Earth propaganda film called Level. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, the link to the playlist should be in the top right corner and in the description. With that out of the way, let's begin.
We come from this big bang and fluffy puffy pixie fairy dust and unicorn farts, and all of a sudden consciousness just came out of that. No.
You're right. Consciousness did not spontaneously develop from a big bang. It took 10 billion years of star formation, planet formation, abiogenesis, and biological evolution before anything close to consciousness appeared in any life form at all.
It was designed. It's not an accident.
Now you're just contradicting yourself. In a secular or naturalistic worldview, there is no such thing as a designer. There is no intent behind anything in nature. An accident is a subversion of an intention, so no, there is no such thing as a cosmic accident by definition.
Everything according to their bogus Darwinian theory of evolution, all of it points to a godless, atheist, demonic, demon-crat lie.
Sorry, Santos, but that's not a lie. Evolution is arguably the single best corroborated thing in the entire history of scientific inquiry. Also, what's a demon-crat?
NASA is a corporation, and they are the same people who run Disney. In fact, they are very, very similar, because what they do is they entertain people. They're not teaching people. They don't want people to know the truth about the cosmos.
Wrong and hypocritical. Disney is indeed a corporate entity that makes its money off of entertaining people. NASA, on the other hand, gets its money off of American taxpayers. While a portion of it is indeed used for entertainment, much of it is used for scientific and engineering purposes, and thus educating the population. In doing such, NASA has sent humans to the moon, gathered data on every planet in the solar system, and Pluto, and taken photos of the farthest reaches of outer space. NASA's work has even inspired some of the most famous and influential speeches in human history, most notably Carl Sagan's Pale Blue Dot speech. To claim that NASA and Disney are the same is one of the most insane and idiotic comparisons a person can make. It's even more insane and ironic, however, that you, a flat earther, astrologer, sovereign citizen, and frauditor, would claim that NASA is deceiving people. Shut up.
They're entertaining them with CGI images. Every image you see, image, not photo, every single one of them, all of those are computer-generated image.
Wrong. The photographs of planets taken by NASA have repeatedly been verified to be legitimate by amateur astronomers. For example, Thunderfoot took photos of Mars last year with amateur equipment, and the photos he took line up with photos taken by NASA quite well.
They are not photos. Everyone you see on Google is a CGI image. It is not a photo.
This is just funny. Several of the results you got from your search are real, and as I said earlier, some of the photos were taken before CGI was even invented.
And you can't tell that they are CGI. Either there's two things wrong with you. You are either or you are mentally deranged.
If by mentally deranged you mean having a grasp on reality, then yes.
You do not have control of your own mind. Your mind has been indoctrinated, it has been brainwashed, and you've been duped.
The only one doing the duping here is you, Santos.
And you still believe in Santa Claus,
says the flat earther.
An upside down spinning Santa ball, which the Jesuits invented in 1542.
Wrong. The globe was conceived around 500 BC by Pythagoras, not 1542. 1542 was when Copernicus proposed the heliocentric model, and he wasn't the first to do it either. That again goes to the ancient Greeks.
Prior to 1542, every single culture, all our intelligent ancestors will be rolling in their graves knowing that their stupid progeny actually think they live on a spinning globe.
They were kind of stupid.
Zoom up to Venus, zoom up to Mars, and you will see they are lights. They are stars. Hence all the intelligent pre-Copernican astrologers, Ptolemaic astrologers like myself, taught that all the planets are wandering stars.
No. As I've already explained, Thunderfoot debunked that claim. The reason why Mars looks like a star in the videos he showed is because flat earthers don't know how to focus a telescope. A link to a video by Movie Vertigo explaining how to focus cameras correctly is in the description.
If all the stars, as they say, in every constellation are all at different depths by millions of light years, how come for thousands and thousands and thousands of years of hurtling through the sky, there is no distortion, no difference in luminosity of stars?
Once again, flat earthers don't understand physics. The reason why these stars don't change positions much is twofold. The first reason, ironically, is the argument that Santos just presented. They don't move because they're so far away. What makes you think you would be able to see these stars change positions, even over thousands of years, when these stars are trillions of kilometers away?
We're supposed to be flying at breakneck speeds through the galaxy, and yet the same boring stars keep turning over our flat, stationary, plain Earth.
No, and that's because of the second reason why these stars don't appear to move. We are indeed flying at breakneck speeds, but guess what? All of the other stars in this galaxy are also flying at breakneck speeds in the same direction. We are moving at such similar speeds to the rest of the stars in our galaxy that it would take millions of years for their positions to change by an appreciable amount. By contrast, humans as a species have only existed for about 200,000 years, and we've only been making star charts for 40,000 of those years.
That's why we have a horizon, because it's horizontal.
Wrong. We call it horizontal because it's convenient, not because it's accurate. As seen in the footage to the right, the horizon is in fact curved. However, in everyday situations, you're not going to see that curve because the curvature is so slight. So calling it horizontal makes sense.
That's why we have sea level, because the sea is level. It's not curving. You cannot call it sea level, you will call it sea curve.
Again, no. Level and flat are not synonyms. In this context, it means to be equidistant from the center of the Earth and at a right angle to the direction of gravity.
That's why we have tectonic plates and not tectonic bowls.
No. Just like with the horizon, we call them plates because it's convenient, not because it's accurate.
Check out the Suez Canal, 120 miles, no curvature. It never overflows, it never drains.
The Suez Canal, just like any canal or river, does not overflow or drain because of curvature. Flat earthers do not understand Earth curve at all and seem to think that curvature and altitude are the same thing. They aren't. The Suez Canal is level and never flows uphill. And
to all those astrologers out there who think they are astrologers, teaching heliocentrism.
Wait, a flat earther is about to attack astrologers? Guess the stop clock really is right twice a day.
Like Laura Eisenhower, the granddaughter of her grandfather, the president of the US, calling herself a heliocentric astrologer. No such thing exists.
From a very young age, wondering why the heck did I land in the Eisenhower family. I was faced with the opportunity to go to Mars. Some people wonder, why the heck didn't you go to Mars? But my intuition told me, from really recalling a youth filled with a lot of insight about what I was here to do, was to not go anywhere.
That is, Laura, you are a false prophet.
Can't believe I'm saying this, but you got this, Santos. Tear her apart.
The line going from the AC to the DC is called the line of the Earth, and it never moves. AC to DC, ascendant to descendant, that's called the line of the Earth, according to the astrologers of ancient. And that never moves, proving that there is no movement of the Earth calculated in any astrological chart reading that you do. You never account the movement or the position of the Earth in relation to any of these planets, because it's that line of the Earth which we call the horizon.
speaking of horizons, some guy, he filmed a mountain. He was flying over Texas, and he used his camera to film a mountain. This mountain was supposed to be hidden by 35 miles of curvature with the current circumference of the Earth that we're given.
Mr. Odd was referring to this video by J. Tolan Media. It doesn't seem like anyone has reviewed this video thoroughly in the past, so I guess I'll do it myself. Jay used an app on his phone, ironically using a GPS, to show his coordinates. Thanks to this, I was able to map out where Jay was and where he was looking, shown here. As expected, the distance to San Lucas matches up with Google Earth. Although the usage of 8 inches per mile squared is incorrect and greatly exaggerates the amount that should be hidden by the curve, San Lucas should still be below the horizon. Does that mean that flat earthers were right all along? Nope. Let's apply some scrutiny to this photo. The main hint that something is wrong is that the land that's in front of the nearby mountains is the same shade as the Gulf of Baja. There should be water there, and if there was, then the Gulf would have been darker than the land in the front. Let's keep going and find out if there's anything between the west coast and Jay's plane that would make it look like that photo. It took me about 2 minutes of searching, but I found this. It's one of the Chinati Mountains in Texas. The angle seems to match up almost perfectly with the shot taken by Jay. Not only that, but rather than being 760 miles away from the point of observation, it's a mere 220, more than compatible with the globe.
You can see a boat disappear with your naked eye. And that used to be proof alone. That used to be proof for the curvature of the Earth. But now, you can watch the boat disappear with your naked eye, and then you could pull up this camera, and you could zoom in on the boat that you just watched disappear, and you could bring it right back into full view, just perfectly visible.
No. Zooming in on objects that are obscured by the horizon does not bring them back into view. The reason why they disappear from the naked eye is because they've become too small, not because they're hidden by flurspective.
There's flat Earth proofs coming out all the time.
Flat Earth hasn't had a new argument or piece of evidence for it since 2015.
You know, they're trying to censor this stuff nonstop. There's just a mission to keep this stuff buried.
Why shouldn't we bury it? Flat Earth is one of the most insane, idiotic, and harmful conspiracy theories of the past decade. It's been demonstrated to be a pipeline directly to anti-intellectualism, anti-vaccine crap, and even the alt-right. We have no good reason to keep Flat Earth around, and a plethora of good reasons to kick it to the curb.
Where they're finding slack, they'll pick it up, you know what I mean? Like, there's no spot in Flat Earth that is not covered.
The only thing that Flat Earth is completely covered in is crap.
There's pilots coming out all the time, too. And they're attesting to the fact that you can't find any curvature.
Ask any airline pilot what the shape of the Earth is. When they're done laughing at you, they'll tell you it's a sphere.
I'm sorry, Dave. Why did they do this to you?
Did you notice any curvature while we were up there?
No.
No? What'd you see while we were up there?
Just the blue sky, white clouds.
Yeah, is it flat or?
Pretty flat.
Pretty flat?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
There are very few pilots out there who are actually flat earthers. When you see a pilot say that the Earth is flat, they're usually joking in order to get the flat earthers to go away. It's funny how flat earthers are so quick to tell us to think critically, and then turn right around and take whatever some random pilot says at face value as long as it agrees with them.
We never feel the plane dipping its nose down. We only feel the landing. Which flight route matches reality in your mind? If you chose the left, you may need medical attention.
Eric is absolutely swimming in irony right now. Flat earthers love to use the Mercator projection to make flights look ridiculous on a globe, but completely forget that the flat Earth map that they use is the azimuthal equidistant projection, which was also derived from the globe. By showing that the flight path makes sense on a flat Earth map, they demonstrate that it works on a globe. For good measure, though, I decided to use an actual globe to show that the run line makes sense on a round Earth, shown here. It gets worse, though. While the globe is able to explain every flight path that flat earthers throw at it, it doesn't work the other way around. Flights across the southern hemisphere, such as Qantas flights, make perfect sense on a globe, but not on a flat Earth.
Not every pilot instantly connects the dots and keeps quiet. Sometimes, it can hit them 25 years later.
Australië. En dat is, want dit ding behoudt zijn stand, dus dit blijft blauw en dit blijft grijs. Het is niet zo dat we opeens onklapperde verkeerde kant op.
The fact that she doesn't understand how navballs work is rather baffling. Artificial horizons have built-in software or counterweights specifically designed to account for the curvature of the Earth. Artificial horizons will never roll backwards during a flight because they are specifically designed to avoid that, not because the Earth is flat.
Better late than never. Most pilots may have skipped over their training manuals. In their Flight Dynamics Summary, Section 112 explains all you'll need to know about what you're flying over. Heck, the military knows the same thing. NASA admits it as well. In tons of documents available to the public. They just assumed nobody would pay attention.
No. They assumed that nobody would be dumb enough to actually think that the Earth is flat, look at these documents, ignore the explicit clarification that it was an assumption made because it's more simple, not because it's more accurate, and then use it to claim that the government somehow hides that proof in plain sight.
From the documents to the imagery, they are not flying around a curve heading to outer space.
Yes they are.
Stop falling for the illusions.
Oh, the irony.
Most of NASA's rockets launch from Florida and head towards the Bermuda Triangle. Well, besides the occasional... They're not shy about showing the truth in plain sight. 125 alleged miles up, and they show you our level horizon with a local sun. Then quickly switch cameras to their fisheye lens, as if that didn't just happen. You have to pick one. You can't have both.
Yes, you can have both if the point of these cameras is not to show that the Earth is curved, but rather to show how high up the rocket is. I've already explained this earlier.
Many crashed satellites have been reported the world over, and the one thing they all have in common is giant helium balloons attached to them.
That's because most of the debris that comes from satellites that are in outer space burn up in the atmosphere or land in the ocean.
But the issue with society is that they never critically think.
The irony is killing me. Stop!
Just think for a second here. If these are sent up to provide the world with all of the important information we need...
They don't. Several GPS satellites are in geostationary orbit so that people can get a signal regardless of the time of day or weather conditions. If they were in the atmosphere, a strong storm would blow all of the satellites out of range, making them useless for navigation.
Then please explain to me, what in the flat world do these pathetic animations do for you? Do they make you happy inside? Are they so super duper cool that you cannot see past the obvious CGI?
Not really. It is indeed entertainment, and we can easily tell that those animations you just showed are CGI. The reason we appreciate them is because they're just a little thank you note, if you will. Because most of the stuff that NASA does for us isn't really something that applies to our everyday lives.
Our very distinguished guest for this evening is Admiral Richard E. Bird.
Strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being.
There was literally nothing special about what Admiral Bird said.
The Earth is flat. Why don't you find the edge and fall off? Well, my response is, can you fall off the edge of a lake?
Flat Earthers think that the Earth is surrounded by a gigantic ice wall. Unfortunately for them, Antarctica is not an ice wall the whole way around, and it's getting slightly shorter every year.
Because we know the physics of water is defined and maintained level if you've been paying attention.
If you've been paying attention, you already know that I've debunked this claim before.
And also, water must be contained.
Yes, and the container is gravity.
What happens to their control when millions of people travel
beyond the 60th parallel?
Nothing really, because there isn't all that much to hide.
They knew this was going to get out. They knew people were going to wake up.
If by wake up you mean start denying reality, then no, actually. Nobody expected this.
What if Star Wars is true?
Then you'd be contradicting yourself. Isn't there supposed to be a dome?
The timeline goes as follows. So in 1955, Operation Deep Freeze starts. And when Admiral Richard Bird gets back, he comes on live television and tells us he found more land, the size of North America. They quickly start NASA, and President Eisenhower calls over the Nazi traitors in Operation Paperclip to start the upper space mind control program.
Wrong. NASA was formed in response to the launch of the Soviet satellite Sputnik, not to cover up Antarctica. Its initial goal was to at least become equal to the USSR in terms of being able to send things into space, when placed in simplest terms. I already addressed the Von Braun was a Nazi claim earlier, so I won't repeat myself.
Then, in 1959, 12 nations started the Antarctic Treaty, followed by 42 more nations where they have decided you or I cannot travel or explore any part of Antarctica south or past the 60th parallel without military clearance, without the aid of a guided tour.
Wrong. Nowhere in the Antarctic Treaty does it say that Antarctic exploration is off limits. As for the arrests that happened, they didn't happen because going to Antarctica was illegal. It's because laws were violated that would have resulted in the same arrests happening regardless of where they were coming from or going to. The Norwegian was arrested because the boat went into Chilean territory and gave the wrong information to the Navy. They were kept in custody because one of the passengers was from New Zealand, who left the country without a passport.
Do you really think that this is just a coincidence?
Hold it right there. I'm not letting you get away with this one. It's funny that you would refer to this as proof of the United Nations imprisoning people for going to Antarctica. If you look at the document, it's clearly referring to James Clark Ross's Antarctic expeditions, which happened in the 1840s, a century before the United Nations was formed. As for the arrest itself, it looks like you need to go back to English class. Arrested has multiple meanings, and in this document specifically, the word means to have progress stopped, not to have been taken into custody. Do you think glaciers and icebergs carry handcuffs or something?
Imagine they find more land. Imagine there is more land out there. More to explore, more to reside, more resources. You think they tell you and I about it?
Yes! Why wouldn't they? As an American, I can say pretty confidently that the USA's government would have no qualms with taking Antarctica for themselves and giving its citizens access to all that non-existent extra land. Those resources would go a long way to fueling the economy too. It's called capitalism.
I'm sure a lot of you have heard about my $200,000 globe challenge. And up to this point, no one has been successful at completing the challenge.
That's because the challenge was fraudulent and nonsensical, as you're about to see.
We've had a few clowns here and there that have stepped up to the plate. Here we go. And claimed victory. But at the end of the day, you can't make water stick to the bottom of a ball.
Correct. But that's because the challenge was built on a straw man of the globe. The reason the water sticks to the round Earth but not a basketball is because the Earth's gravity is billions of times stronger than the basketball's. Why would anyone think that you could have oceans on a tennis ball? They don't. It's a straw man.
You can't show where sea level turns to sea curve.
Of course not, because sea level does not become sea curve. The sea is always curved.
There's no curvature on the x-axis or y-axis.
That stuff is flat.
Tyson does screw up every once in a while. This is one of those times. As I've demonstrated repeatedly, we have multiple ways to directly and indirectly observe Earth's curvature from any altitude. Well, that was a workout. With this, part 3 is finally over. Next time, I'll dissect the fourth and final portion of this movie and give my closing remarks. Till then, I hope to see you in the comments. Your viewership, as always, is greatly appreciated. Over and out.